Back when this trade was made, I didn't think that this would be such a good move that we would inevitably be making the trade return video finalized thing regarding this trade. Like, you could kind of tell based off of which players are getting traded where, who's a big deal, who's not, and which trades are going to be worth revisiting in a few years. But for this one, on the day of the trade, it did not seem like this would be a big deal at all. Let's talk today about one of the best defensemen on the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm not hyperbolizing when I say that, Jake Walman. And the trade over a year ago which sent him to Detroit in the first place. Let's go over Walman first and foremost and just talk about how good he has been and why this is such a big deal when you acknowledge where he came from. Walman is 27 years old, 6'2", 260, and a left-handed guy signed till the end of 2026, making $3.4 million a year. He had just recently got this extension, and if you're like me, you remember the reaction that Red Wings fans had. It was all positive, all around. You know that scene in Oppenheimer where everybody's just cheering, waving the flags, and jumping up and down with joy? That is exactly what the Red Wings fan base exhibited when Walman re-signed. Why is that? Well, in his rookie season as a Red Wing, he had 18 points in 63 games played. Now, you might say that the point production isn't really all too great, and I'll agree with you there. 18 points in 63 games is not the most amazing number in the world. But when it comes to the caliber of play this guy provides, there's so much to love about Walman as he plays with Moritz Seider that everything from the late second goals to the gritties on the ice to the actual solid play all around, it really boasts just the best of all worlds combined. He was initially a player drafted by the St. Louis Blues, and he had spent so many years developing up and down over there, but inevitably got traded to Detroit, to the point where now he is literally a top 3 percentile player in the NHL. Just a little aside here, Jay Fresh went out there and said this when he re-signed. Jake Walman is an offensive defenseman whose instant chemistry with a previously struggling Moritz Seider has made the model fall head over heels for him. He profiles as a good top 4 player at the least, though. A very good bet for the Wings. Even strength play, he is in the top 10 percentile on the penalties, competition, goals per 60, he is all good over there too. His wins above replacement number being at 97% is very, very high. Reading some more tweets though, this is what Jay Fresh also says. What the model sees extremely simplified. Seider and Sherratt had a 42% expected goals for, which is awful. Seider and Walman have a 57% goals for percentage, or expected goals for percentage, which is elite. Therefore, the model might actually say that Walman must be elite and Seider must not be that good. It's maybe giving Walman a bit of credit that belongs to Seider in Jay Fresh's opinion though. The main point here, though, is that this is exactly what the Wings should have done. $3.4 million is a great deal, even if it turns out Walman isn't one of the best defensemen in the world. Keep that chemistry going. Now, Walman is all great, and I think a lot of people would go out there and agree. But we gotta remember where everything came from here. Remember how I said that he was just an up-and-down AHL defender bouncing around between the St. Louis Blues and their farm team? Well, because of his status as not too important of a player in the Blues, Walman was acquired by Detroit as a throw-in option on a trade made on March 21st, 2022. Take a look at this. The Detroit Red Wings acquired Oskar Sundqvist, Jake Walman, and a 2023 second-round pick in exchange for Luke Witkowski and Nick Leddy with salary retained. Now, it's not difficult to look at this trade and understand where the value was coming from the perspective of the teams involved. Nick Leddy is the guy going from Detroit to St. Louis with salary retained. Back in this time frame, he was seen as a power play quarterback, offensive productive guy. He was able to get points like he did with the Islanders. Wasn't too amazing with Detroit, but he did get sent over to St. Louis and helped them out in their playoff run. He's signed till the end of 2026, making $4 million a year. The Blues went out there and re-signed him because they liked him so much. As an expiring deal with the Red Wings, there was no value for Nick Leddy to provide this team heading into the long term, so they traded him away alongside of Witkowski, who is a throw-in extra defenseman in this trade. And I guess if you wanted to go over him, Luke Witkowski played defense and right wing, which is really intriguing to see. He's not signed at the moment, but he did recently play with the Springfield Thunderbirds, the AHL team for the Blues. So if he's sticking around, okay, he's still a part of this trade, he's still valued there, but Luke Witkowski is not necessarily going to go out there and shatter worlds in any respect. Meanwhile, you have Oskar Sundqvist, whom the Red Wings were able to get a few games out of, that was acquired alongside of Walman in this trade. Sundqvist eventually went back to St. Louis, which is really funny to note because he was sent over from Detroit to Minnesota later on in 22-23. He was pretty okay, to be honest. 21 points, 52 games played with the Wings in the prior season, was seen as a pretty nice rental addition for the Minnesota Wild. But now he's back in St. Louis, so it's not really like anything changed. It's going to be funny to see him suit up back with the player that he was traded for, pretty much, in Nick Leddy. But as we had said, Jake Walman was literally just an extra piece in this trade, not really the most important part. You could say that because you got Sundqvist, a forward that helped you out and got these points, that was supposed to be the most valuable part. But nah, Jake Walman went out there and had a season that was so good that the Athletics model says that he has a market value of $9.5 million, despite the fact that he's making $1.1 million in last season's worth of play. He is just incredible, and all the analytical models are going out there and agreeing. Either way, though, before we get back onto Walman, let's talk about what makes this trade actually complete. It is that second-round pick that the Blues sent over to Detroit. It was the 42nd overall pick in the 2023 draft, which initially belonged to St. Louis, and with it, the Red Wings selected out of the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL, Andrew Gibson. Right-handed defender, 6'3", 203, a big guy. He delays, manipulates opponents with deception, even on pass receptions, uses the inside, and looks for activation opportunities after passing. The subtle plays that he makes, like quick pump fakes on receptions or angling his body away from his target, drive up his value. Gibson had 21 points in 45 games played this most recent season with the Greyhounds, and we already made another video just kind of going over him and a few other guys that the Red Wings ended up drafting. I'm not going to go out there and say that Andrew Gibson has the highest potential in the world, but he's got a pretty solid frame, he's got some pretty good deception abilities, and I'm interested in seeing where he's going to go with the Red Wings as his career goes along. But again, this is just the one part of this trade that makes everything finalized. Everything is all complete now. The Red Wings acquired a few games of Oskar Sundqvist, which they inevitably traded to the Wild, Jake Walman, who is a pretty mainstay guy on this team, and Andrew Gibson in exchange for Luke Witkowski and the ending part of a season in Nick Leddy's contract. Since the Blues literally got Sundqvist back, and you have Nick Leddy who is still over there doing his thing, they love him over there, it's gonna be a pretty long time before I feel we actually see winners and losers, but if Andrew Gibson can provide significant value as his career goes on, if Jake Walman can still continue being good, which I don't want to go out there and say is unlikely, this trade could be seen as a pretty good one for both teams. And I guess for St. Louis, they had a big hand in making this valuable for them because they re-signed Nick Leddy. They liked him enough to bring him around, and he liked it over there that he wanted to stick around. So, pretty good win, honestly. The Red Wings got value, the Blues got value. What's not to like? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Jake Walman and the way that he has performed for the Red Wings, and what are your thoughts on the trade finally being complete? Sure, there are some extra parts in this trade that don't really mean too much. Luke Witkowski, you could say that Sundqvist isn't really the most important part, but even just saying Walman for Leddy, even without that second-round pick Andrew Gibson, it's a pretty good trade-off in my opinion. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this trade? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.